Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Politics World with Sam Skrubala. Now it's been almost a week since the general election and there still seems to be no end in sight. We have no government. The Queen's speech has been delayed. What's going to be the future of British politics? Well, to help me answer that question and more, I'm joined today by Eamonn Ives, a researcher at the Liberal Conservative think tank Bright Blue. Eamonn, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to hear from you.
So, of course, we saw in last week's general election the Conservatives, initially it was thought, were going to have a landslide victory, but obviously that wasn't the case. Theresa May lost her majority. Why did the Conservative Party vote collapse?
It's a good question. I think we have to dissect that in some detail. Obviously, as you said, she started very well at the start, and I think she also started well from the start of her premiership as well. But then looking to the election campaign itself, my thoughts are that basically her policies, they kind of became subsumed by the whole campaign. I think especially on social care, the U-turns and sort of the bungling around those policies, that didn't help. That really undermined the whole concept of her strong and stable, which they were trying to get across, and that really gave Labour something that they could exploit. So she was left exposed in that sense.
Did this really reveal a Conservative Party campaign that, as you mentioned, focused on Theresa May being strong and stable? Was it essentially devoid of policy depth?
I think there was policy there, and at times as they were sort of tried to stress in the campaign, they were sort of trying to take the hard decisions. The voters, for whatever reason, didn't take that up. I think Labour were able to present a more ambitious, some would say more optimistic campaign. But for me, I think it was just around the whole release of the policies, which kind of proved fatal for her in the end.
Now, at the start of the election, Theresa May, of course, said this was about her getting a mandate for Brexit, and then that now infamous tweet where she said if she lost just 6 seats, she would have effectively lost the election. Well, she lost more than 6 seats, but she's still intending to carry on. Does Theresa May still have legitimacy, as a PM after having lost a mandate by her own standards?
I think you're very well within your rights to question that. I think her legitimacy, her authority has taken a knock since the election. But one ought not to forget that the Conservatives, they are still the biggest party in the Commons. So one could very easily claim that they still have the right to govern. Maybe albeit in a more collegial manner, which I don't think would necessarily be a bad thing at this time. Policy makers, the cabinet getting really involved in the whole leading of this government. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, as I've said.
But given that it was about having a mandate, has Theresa May personally lost legitimacy? In other words, should we be seeing a new Prime Minister if the Conservative Party is to move forward in government?
Well, I think that's a fair question to ask. I think that a new Prime Minister should be forthcoming, especially before the next general election. I don't think she should be leading the party into the next general election. And I think she should be honest, and she has, to be fair to her, said that in the past.
Are there any candidates at the moment who could replace her?
We've been seeing this maybe in the last week or so. For me personally, I think Ruth Davidson would be an obvious candidate, and a lot of people are touting her. Obviously, there's the issue about getting her into Westminster, and it would be a shame for our friends up in Scotland to lose her. But I think someone of that ilk, someone that represents sort of the positive, liberal version of the Conservative Party, I think would be more than adequate candidate to lead the party into the next general election.
Well, you mentioned Ruth Davidson being more on the liberal wing of the Conservative Party. This sort of ideological direction that we saw under David Cameron, the modernisation of the Conservative Party, appeared to have been abandoned after Theresa May took over. What's the future direction of the party?
Well, you say it was abandoned. I don't necessarily think it was abandoned. It was maybe changed. Theresa May still herself had flares of the sort of the modernisation of liberalism. You have to also remember that she was, by David Cameron's side for all of his premiership. But yes, you are right to say that. personally, I think there shouldn't be such an obsession with this ideology. What the country needs right now are good, innovative policies, which will genuinely make hardworking people's lives materially better. We always think that evidence should come before ideology.
Now, one of the landmark policies of Theresa May's government was the quote-unquote hard Brexit that was being pursued by her leadership and by the Conservative Party. Now, as you mentioned, there have been several questions about hard Brexit, and if you are looking at the evidence, perhaps some would argue that a softer form, or maybe no Brexit at all, may be better for the country. What would you make of a future Tory leader perhaps reneging on the idea of a hard Brexit, and do you think it should be the future policy for the party?
Yes, well, I think the question is, what is a hard Brexit? There is no defined definition of what that should be. I think there should be an end to the right to free movement, in the sense that it operates today, but that is not to sort of go against immigration itself, and I do think more should be done sort of to sell the benefits of immigration to the electorate, whilst being sensitive to their concerns. I think this election, some would say, did reject the Brexit which she put forward at the election, and she would be sensible to sort of take that on board. Maybe people don't want the form of Brexit which she was offering. But yeah, I think the Conservative Party does need to learn from this election on this matter, and I think it will do.
Now, of course, the Conservative Party are currently in talks with the DUP, the Democratic Unionist Party, in Northern Ireland, who are certainly much to the right on many social issues, for example, abortion, marriage equality. As a liberal conservative think tank, and as someone who has openly said they want a sort of more liberal conservative leader, how could a leader like Ruth Davidson come in if the next Tory government was propped up by a party like the DUP?
Mm-hmm. Well, Ruth's obviously made her thoughts clear on what she thinks about the DUP. I think it's challenging to make assumptions at this point. Nobody knows whether the DUP will try to sort of put forward its agenda on matters like that in the House of Commons. So it's difficult to say at this point in time, I think.
Now, if that DUP deal were to collapse, going forward it would be difficult for the Conservatives to govern as a minority government, and in all likelihood we may even see another election either this year or next. Now, you've already said you believe a new leader such as Ruth Davidson should step up. Do you believe if that occurred that the Conservatives could win a second election? And if not, what do they need to change about their campaigning style, their policies, in order to be more appealing to the electorate?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a good question, and I think we've seen polls which might suggest that Labour have overtaken them since the election, but you obviously have to treat those with a degree of caution. You also can't forget that the Conservatives did still win the most seats, they secured the most votes, and I think there is genuine belief that people do still trust them to run the country. Maybe in this election they weren't quite sold on May's approach, and they wanted to register as fact. But no, I think the Conservatives can be optimistic going into the future. Maybe changes do have to be made, perhaps in how the campaign is made, how it's put forward. Also some changes perhaps to their policy regarding young people. I think I would welcome a new focus on climate change, on housing. I think that would stand them in good stead.
So, in short, do you believe the Conservatives could win a second election?
I think they could. It would be silly to think that they couldn't, based on the figures that they have at the moment. They only need a handful more seats to tip them over that line. I think, yes, we might need to take a look at some of the policies that they put forward, and as I've said before, the whole sort of delivery of that campaign. But assuming they might have a new leader by the next time that general election is called, I think they should have every belief that they could win it.
Eamonn Ives, thank you for joining us on today's show.
Thank you very much.